Hi, my name is Mark Bernard. I'm a monetary economist. In this video, I want to talk about the economics of Russia in relation to what average Ivan Ivanoviches can do in order to throw a monkey wrench in the Russian machinery in a peaceful, positive way, in which many times in the past, when we're trying to build a social world responsibility ethic, other countries have done, okay? And other people successfully. First, I want to tell you some funny stories. It's kind of a lighthearted day. I want to tell you a few odds and ends. First thing is, I live in St. Johns County in Florida, and I was driving with my Pray for Ukraine sticker. Somebody almost ran me off the road. And I noted who that person was, and they were actually a pro-Russian supporter, and they see my Pray for Ukraine sticker. Okay, it doesn't stop there. Remember I told you the story back in the I'll admit it, 70s. So my neighbors, the kids were learning Russian because they thought the Soviet Union was some sort of social utopia, everything great. Okay, that's how distorted views come. They were very liberal. But on the conservative side now, I'm getting word that in my county of St. Johns County, Florida, we have people, their kids again, now they're learning Russian. How strange is that? Okay? I mean, why would you learn Russian? Other than that you feel like it's some ridiculous conservative utopia. Okay, enough of that. I mean, I'm going to get into the economics. Oh, I have a couple more odds and ends before I get into this. This pillar right here. This is created Germany in the 1940s, part of that whole movement in Germany, architecture, because they colonized here thinking that they were going to be here forever. Notice the style of this column. It impresses like the socialism that I've shown you before. Something is great and strong, which it really isn't. It's just kind of like a ostentatious flexing. Okay, this is just an average tenement building, and you see some signatures of the past. Interesting. And I want to tell you something else. There was this Siberian guy. He was his name was Alexander Gabyshev, and he was a Yakut shaman shaman exorcist. He came marching to Moscow 2019, try to exorcise the demons from the Kremlin. And what do you think happened? The Tsar of Russia threw him in a cuckoo's nest forever into a mental hospital. Not that because the Tsar is not religious at all. He's anti-religious. Anybody that thinks the Tsar is religious has a comic book understanding of religion. He's an atheist, actually, the Tsar of Russia. And we can get into that in another video. He threw that exorcist in because he politically opposed them. Again, it's all about loyalty to the Tsar. And that it's not that he was an exorcist, although there may be some, unconscious thing there that he's afraid of. Okay, because religion is the opposite of superstition. And many people brought up in Russia don't understand that. But another story. What I want to get into is, so that's the odds and ends, non sequitur. I want to get into the economics of protest. Boston Tea Party, 1773. Gandhi salt mine protest, 1930. Solidarity, 1980s. I can tell you all day long. I can talk about that. These were peaceful protests, and they just said, yeah, no more. Meaning, yeah, we're not going to work. We're not going to, they didn't do it in a violent way, but, if you start to protest in this way, maybe not in a mass way, because you can't do it in Russia with the FSB, but you can have an impact. And let me explain. You got the Pullman strike, 1894, great American Railroad strike, 1871, and you've got a few more textile broadcasts, the Indian Indigo strike in 1854. All these things, not to mention like the Montgomery, Alabama bus strike, all these things can have an impact. But these were very out in the open type economic protests. And that's not something you want to be drawing yourself to in Russia as attention. But what you can do, as I mentioned in my other video, in a Keynesian fashion, is not consume. And there's an adjunct to that is not to work. So let me explain. Starting today, New Year's resolution, just don't buy anything. Maybe you buy potatoes and herring and, grow some microgreens, but buy maybe thread and needles and stitch your own clothes. That's what I do. I mean, Russia's now transmuted into some hyper-consumptive, since the socialists eradicated religion in Russia, everybody, and evidence is 4% attendance of weekly church. HIV is the highest in all of Europe, as well as alcoholism, STD, and birth rate declining, et cetera, et cetera. So you can't say that it's about orthodoxy and decadent West, et cetera. What you can do is you just don't consume. You can be a minimalist. You can be an anti-czarist by simply not consuming. Even me, look at me. I mean, I could, but I'm filming this on an old camera with no lens and no microphone and an 11-year-old computer, and I don't even have a graphic editor. Everybody's like, "Oh, you got to get the best and the greatest." And no, I use FFmpeg. You can check it out. FFmpeg. It's just command line. So it's fun to be minimalist. So for a year, if you have any religion or transcendence in you in Russia, you can just not consume. The second component of that is you can be. I was in management, and I was flying beneath the radar as technical subject matter expert SME. And it's much better to be flying beneath the radar. Management, you get paid marginally more, but flying beneath the radar is pretty good. And if you want to protest in Russia, if you're a Russian citizen, you're working, how do you protest? You do everything you can to not get fired, but not do the work. Can you imagine if the whole country of Russia just stopped working? God used to have these days of prayer and fasting, but you don't have to be so obvious. You could just it could be a PowerPoint Picasso, or you could just hang out by the water cooler. One of the strategies I did was every time I see my boss I didn't like, I would stop them in the hallway and ask them questions until they got this Pavlov's response of avoiding me, right? So that's kind of funny, actually. You could be doing all these things. You could be a technomaniac illusionist. That means just always have multiple spreadsheets open, and you could be playing Minesweeper or something in the background, and then have an anti-boss hotkey that you just press it when they come by in the far corner, or chess. I used to play chess in my brain, but you could think of creative plots and things you could do. You can just really drag your feet and not work. Whether you're working in Moscow, you're working in the countryside, just try not to work, but do it in a sense that they don't fire you. But even if they do fire you, so what? In 3 years, in the old days, you say, "Oh, you get a black mark, check a record." Oh, you just reinvent yourself when the czar is down, and the czar will be out of here soon. So there's these underhanded ways in which you could create an economic protest by being a water cooler master, schedule lots of meetings if you're in management, drag your feet if you're a worker, that really, if everybody did it, it would throw a monkey wrench in the Russian economy. Well, what if not everybody did it? So what? Isn't this life about making the world a better place, finding meaning? What if you were the only one doing it? At least you're not consuming. And in your mind, you could be like barely working and doing the minimum below minimum. And, they're desperate for workers there because they don't pay enough. So what? So what if everybody doesn't do it? At least you do. Because when you're looking for meaning, Viktor Frankl's, unconscious God man search for meaning sense, and that's to counter, Dostoevsky, Nietzsche, yes, and all these other ideas. It's really about you finding the meaning that you think is, you can find meaning in abstract ideas like I do in, the divine and, ideals of democracy, fairness, justice, peace, or you can find meaning in that doorknob over there. Viktor Frankl said it doesn't matter. As long as you live a meaningful life and that means something to you, you're going to have this extra supercharged power. I believe that there's that greater power we can tap into, but that's another, and give you a supercharge, but that's another, story. So in Russia, for the Russian people, the message to the Russian people is, one, don't consume nothing, consume the bare minimum. They'll drop consumption significantly. And two, don't work, because what they are desperate for are workers. And, they just can't, they'll do anything to get workers because they don't have the money to pay you the appropriate wages. Be the minimalist. Be the water cooler master. Be the person who has all these spreadsheets open at work and you don't really do anything. And so what if it damages your career for a few years? What is life about? You got to think of these things. You want to be able to say at the end of your life, you did something, and that's a Russian I would be proud of. Okay. And if you're living outside of Russia, I would be donating to Ukraine, even if it's humanitarian medical causes. Don't wait for Moscow to collapse and then we rebuild and help and, oh, we're sorry. No, do it now. I do children's, I saw a school was just destroyed. Donate to that. then you're starting to live the path of a meaningful life. And that's the path that you want to be on. So you've got this double whammy idea, and it worked in Poland with solidarity. It brought it down, and it worked. I give you many other examples. They brought it down, this tyranny of, and I'm giving you an example of a latent, under the radar type of protest. Don't consume and don't work. You do that, and then you'll feel better about yourself. You'll do that, God will reward you. You do that, and everybody does that. The monkey wrench is thrown into the machinery, and there's nothing they can do about it, right? They can't. They need to stop treating people like cattle. We have to make this world a better place for future generations. My name is Mark Bernard. I'm a monetary economist. Have a beautiful day, beautiful Christmas. God bless you all. Thank you.